Hey guys, I've tried this a few times today and I've really pulled my neck and it's hard to take deep breaths because it's so painful. So I'm going to try and get through this as smoothly as I can. I'm getting treatment for it tomorrow, but I've tried twice already and I just had to stop because it's too painful. But we are going to do Joan of Arc. I can't go into depth about Joan of Arc today, okay? If you do not know who she is, then you will have to Google it, okay? But basically, in the 14th century, she was seen as a messenger from God. So she had these visions that she went to the King of France with and was trying to help him to defeat the English. And she actually fought in battles, okay, which is unheard of at her age and as a female. So she was actually burnt on the stake for heresy when she was 19, which is just the most horrendous thing ever because they tried to twist everything on her being a woman, saying her visions are from Satan kind of thing, and they're evil visions. It's not pure from God. So here are some of the questions, guys, I'm going to go through, okay? I did pick the High Priestess for this one here because, again, it's the High Priestess, it's intuition, it's almost her as the messenger, right? Ow. Sorry, it hurts a lot. Right. How was it being a woman during that time period? Now, straight away, the word came up was terrible, okay? Because unless you were a true angelic being, as in a nun, or worked for the church in a spiritual sense, or any other work would be heresy. So the only reason you would be seen as you had a spiritual calling, or you could speak to God, would be through the church. Through the church. You couldn't just walk up like she did from a village and say, oh, I'm getting visions of God, especially because she was seen as a peasant from a tiny rural village, very, very poor. So that's really risking it because people were already being burnt for witchcraft, okay? So that was massive risk she took to do that, but that's how strong her visions were and her message. No matter what, she was going to get it through to the king. So this was a massive risk to begin with because she wasn't a nun, okay? She wasn't a nun. She didn't work in the church in that sense. So it was a massive, massive risk. She would not be taken seriously, okay? She also said there was no chance for a woman at all in politics back then. So the only way you could ever work in politics or help at all in that sense would be if you were married to somebody in politics and you would put a word in their ear. So when I mean a word in their ear, there's lots of memes and jokes about if you have like a partner or husband and you want him to do something, you try and make it that it's his idea. And oh, darling, great, that's a great idea. Yeah, we should paint the fence in that colour to get stuff done. There's a lot of jokes about that. So it's almost like she said the only way you could have power back then would be to marry into power and then try and subtle hints. But overall, as a woman back then, you could try and give them ideas, but even then that was really, really risky and you were meant to be subservient. So that's just how it was back then, even now in some places, okay? Okay, she does say if she was a nun that had helped the King of France, then it would have been seen as her words were truly from God. As in, if she was ordained. All the way through this reading, I heard the words, if she was ordained. So if she was truly ordained through the church, is in work for the church, almost like being official, it would have helped her out a lot more. But she just came out of the, I just heard she just came out of the woodwork. She came out of nowhere, this little girl from the village. And also, I'm just picking up now as well, a lot of the practices in the villages were things like healing, midwifery, herbal, that kind of thing, which also was seen as really risky back then too. And that's kind of her background where she came from. It wasn't like she came from loads of money and from really high up in the palace, like was a courtier or in the courts or anything like that. She came from a rural village and was looked down on straight away. Ow. Ow, ow, ow. Right. She did feel her visions and belief and faith were enough, okay? Let's see what she says here. To disprove people wrong and what she would call the haters. So she thought her visions were powerful enough and strong enough that, I love the word that came out was haters. So anybody that was like a hater saying, no, you've come from nowhere, you're from a little village, we know what you do there, it's all witchcraft and weird stuff and healing and herbs and stuff. They were so powerful and so strong. I just had a bolt of lightning, literally a bolt of lightning coming down. It was almost like an instant knowledge, like an instant power. It's almost like if you never believed in God or anything like that, and all of a sudden I'm getting a bolt of lightning like a thunderbolt. So pretty much in the Mila Jovovich film, I'm sorry, I'm going to struggle to pronounce that. It was kind of the same thing. She got like all of a sudden a strong village of Jesus. It's pretty much the same thing. I'm getting a bolt of lightning of information, and it was so strong and so powerful. She knew, this is strong, because I'm getting goosebumps, and I always get that when the energy's getting high. Whew. Oh, God. She knew instantly there's a God, it's real, this is him, this is the Lord, this is my master kind of thing. And I'm hearing the word master here. But straight away, a bolt of lightning coming down. I don't mean an actual bolt of lightning, guys. I mean like the information came down, the clarity, the channeled message, and she knew. She knew this is like, I'm hearing the real deal. Man, Joan is so cool. Right. So, is her history, as we have been told, accurate? So that was another question I got, okay? So the film of Mila Jovovich, for example, did contain historical accuracy, but the way she portrayed her was too gung-ho for those times. So she still had to tread a very fine line and was more pious than what the film made out her to be, because the film made her out to be some crazy action hero, which she did fight in battle, she did go to war, but she also had a lot of feminine energy with her, and she was very pious, and she was very subservient to God, so to speak. So it wasn't like she was just some crazy ass action hero going in there killing everybody. They missed the feminine energy, because the feminine energy wasn't seen enough to be powerful, even in the film when they made that film. I'm just getting that through now. So they kind of made it into a gung-ho action character. Like, oh man, remember G.I. Jane, Demi Moore? That kind of, not feminine energy, just like, yeah, I'm like a man, I can do it, I'm strong. They missed the feminine energy that she had, and how pious she was, and how calm and peaceful she wanted to be. They made her out to be a completely crazy gung-ho character, just going in for war and killing people. It wasn't like that. It wasn't like that. When she did fight, she fought with her heart for God, okay? But she didn't just go in and want to like destroy everybody. She wasn't fighting for the people. It was more for God, for doing his work rather than other people's work. So, yes, she did fight, but also she was heavily protected, okay? And more, she knew she had God's protection as well. So even though she did crazy stuff, they might have been seen as really risky, like, what the hell are you doing? She completely believed she was safe in these battles by God, because she had a job to do. So she just knew she was safe. She knew she was covered, literally. So some of the stuff people would be like, wow, she was lucky she got away with that, and that was a miracle. It was a miracle because she knew God was protecting her, and she knew she was safe. So it's complete certainty in her mind. This war's going to be won. I know what to do, and I'm going to do it. It wasn't just because she wanted to fight or have warfare or be aggressive. It's because she knew it was her God's plan. I'm hearing God's plan. She also would not put her army at risk willy-nilly, I hear. So there was more of a sensible, softer, again, a pious side to her than what you saw in the film. So it's still coming through. It's just this complete certainty and faith. This is what she was meant to do. Okay? And yes, she was going to risk her life for it. But she didn't even feel like, how do I explain it? It's almost like she really felt she was protected. Even going into battle, her faith was so strong. It's almost like, I wouldn't say she felt protected after all this, guys, as well, like in the future, but she knew there were certain things she would do that she would be protected. Like some of the battles she knew she'd be protected. But looking further into the future, she didn't look that far ahead. She was uncertain about what would happen to her. But at these moments of battles, she knew, I'm safe, I'm covered. That's what she said. So one of the biggest things is you can still be feminine, okay, and hold your energy and be strong, right? Everything coming through here is about feminine energy, and you can still be really powerful, the whole reading. Now, has she reincarnated since that life? Now, this is crazy, but she did have a life in Italy in politics. This is in the 1950s though, and not so much now. I couldn't pick up anything now as such about her energy, but she was a man. So she reincarnated as a man there. But this is the 1950s, an Italian connection, which I thought was quite interesting. Here we go. Next question. Does she have anything to say that hasn't been said about her time on Earth in that lifetime? So again, all about the feminine energy coming across really strongly here. She was still a woman, even though they tried to make it out that she was some mannish action hero, okay? And she had to dress the part to make men feel more comfortable and to be taken seriously. That's why, everything about her character, about being really masculine, strong and forceful, she wants to say she was a woman. She was a woman, okay? Now, this is really random because all that information came through, and then I looked at this other question that somebody gave me, which was any advice, any advice as we are moving into the divine feminine energy on earth? And I wrote, really interesting, as I just saw this question, and the whole part of the message was to, as women, to stand our grounds and our energy to be heard as well. Now, I do feel, as with other movements, so you've got the Black Lives Matters movement, the Me Too movement, women are going to have a much stronger voice and much more protesters against violence, okay? Violence against women. This is the information that came through. Are going to come in, including new laws. So we have new laws about protecting women coming in. The younger generation in particular are going to be very influential in this movement. A lot of this is thanks to cancel culture. So people didn't care before, but now they're taking cancel culture seriously, even politicians. It's almost like a double-edged sword, cancel culture. Some parts of it can be great, as in, you know, if you get some people that are working in, Harvey Weinstein, that kind of thing, yeah, he should be cancelled. But then again, it can also work completely against you. There's no balance there yet. We need to get the balance right, how we do this, because some of the cancel culture I'm for, and I think it's good, there's repercussions for people like that, and others I'm not. I'm like, no, it's like, I just heard the word witch hunt, no joke, I just heard the word cancel culture becoming a witch hunt as well at times. Wow. Considering that's how she passed, witch hunt. So it's almost about, like, we need the balance back. But in a way at the moment, the young generation in particular are going to be very influential because thanks to cancel culture, people in politics are taking it more seriously for the first time. And because everything's over social media now and Twitter and everything's public, they can't get away with what they used to. They can't treat people how they used to. You know, like, oh, like, women, be subservient, you don't have a voice. If all these women rise up and say, no, another woman's been murdered in London and they're protesting and we want something done, we want new laws. People are starting to listen now, okay? Right, so the youth really has a voice, and it's one to be feared if you're in politics. That's what's coming through. Now, last question, guys. It's loosening up now. Did she feel she achieved what she wanted? So she did, because this was her life mission, and she knew that she would die when she did in her soul contract. So when she came to Earth, not so much. She knew what she was doing was risky. It's almost like she knew she'd be doing certain things that she would be protected for because that was her mission on Earth. But she knew she was at risk later in life, like after that kind of thing, okay? She does say she was very naive, and because she was so young, she still thought God would come down at the last minute and protect her, because even when she came here and she knew in her soul contract she wouldn't live a long life, on Earth she felt like she was protected. So that was still a shock, and she felt let down until she passed over and then realised instantly this is how I was meant to pass, and I wasn't meant to be here for that long. Okay, what else have we got? She wanted to come down. This is important as well. She knew in her soul contract, okay, before she came here, she was aware that the messenger of God has many faces. As back then the churches were very corrupt, I heard. And you have to pay them to get anywhere in politics or any kind of rule with bribes and things like that. Nowadays, when you get politics, you might pay someone else in politics or whatever, you know what I mean? I wouldn't go to the church where I wanted to be like an MP or wanted to do some dodgy side dealing. I wouldn't go to my local church, say, here you go, mate, here's like 50k, I want you to have a word with this and I want you to elevate my position. It doesn't work like that. Back then, the church had so much control and so much power, okay? So they weren't, it was corrupt. So they wanted to show another face that was a pure face, a pure messenger from God that was not in the church, so to speak. So again, the messenger of God has many faces. And in a way, it's almost like a bit like female Jesus coming back. You know what I mean? It is. As in, when you see how Jesus was born and his life, it's almost like the female version of her coming through. Like, you can't be the messenger of God because you're poor, you're from a village, and but the main message was she wanted to be seen as a messenger, especially as she was from a poor rural village and a peasant, to show that God has many faces was the messenger then. God has many faces, okay? It doesn't have to be in the church or a nun or somebody like that. And also, Joan knew that her visions would intimidate the church. But she saw such truth in them that she knew she would fight for her beliefs no matter what. And in today's world, I still got, it would likely she would be in politics right now. If she was in today's world, it's likely she would be in politics, okay? But yeah, the main thing is they chose her. Again, it's all about feminine energy. It's about the woman coming forward and being strong and having a voice. And people trying to cut our voice off. But, oh, I actually went to Rouen where she was, I think that's how you pronounce it in France, because my mum told me about Joan of Arc when I was about, God, 8. And I think I saw where she was executed at maybe like 9, 10, and there was the plaque and everything. But yeah, that really hit home when it's just, I don't know, burning people on stakes. That's a lot. Like when you're young, you know what I mean? And you're into witchcraft and wizardry and stuff like that. To think they actually did that to people, like hundreds and hundreds of thousands of people throughout Europe and all around the world. But anyway, that's everything, guys, okay? So she knew what her mission was before she came here. She knew she wouldn't live a long life, okay? She did have that moment of feeling let down by God, like, you've left me, exactly like Jesus did. You know, Jesus did when he was going to be crucified. He's like, you've left me, God's left me, where were you? It's almost like the same kind of thing, but when she got back and passed over, she knew she was meant to pass. She wasn't meant to live a long life. Right, I'm going, and then I have acupuncture tomorrow, and hopefully that'll get rid of the worst of it. Right, love you all, guys. Write in the comments who you would like next. When it comes to channeling energy and information, by the way, I channel to who I connect with. So if I feel there's a connection and the information comes through, I will do it. If there's not a connection, I can't get the information through. It just doesn't come through and it doesn't flow. So I need to feel there's a connection. So I get lots of people saying, can you do this person, celebrity, that? If I don't really feel a connection with that person or their life story or just with them in general, I find it really hard to channel them. You know, I make it really clear and concise. So that's just a heads up. I will do it if I can connect to them. I will do it, okay? Right. Love you. Bye, guys.